All right, we're going. So we'll just chat.
We'll just chat.
Yeah. All right. I'll start with welcome to Inside MNU Athletics podcast number 7. I am with, make sure I'm on there's me. Inside MNU Athletics podcast number 7. I am with volleyball coach Molly Karagirov and volleyball player Jen Roth. Thank you both for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. All right. So let's start off with your big news that we couldn't announce last time, but you've got it now. Tell us your latest update.
Yeah. No, my husband and I were expecting.
That's
yeah. So
great.
we're really excited.
I saw the video on Facebook. Should we show everybody that to get started?
Yes.
Let's do that.
That's
fine. It's about 3 minutes, so strap in.
Perfect. Well, speaking of all this sex, I'm pregnant.
No, you aren't. You are? Oh.
Just being tired and stuff because I'm pregnant.
No.
Yeah. You're a loser, and I'm pregnant.
You're not pregnant. You are?
Well, I'm pregnant.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah.
You're lying. Are you serious?
Yep. We are.
Oh, she is. I'm not.
Wait, really? What the heck?
I'm pregnant.
What?
Yeah. So, I wanted to get here early and tell you. Like pregnant.
Like there's one cooking in there.
Yeah. I'm pregnant.
You are.
What?
You are?
Yeah.
Oh my word, girl.
Yeah. And I'm pregnant.
You're pregnant right now?
So I'm not trying to wear a mask. Oh, sweet. I'm pregnant. What? I'm pregnant.
Oh, are you?
I am.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'm pregnant.
Да. Добре сме и такова. Искаме да ви се похвалим, че ще стават и прабаба и прадядо.
Дядо ти от кога чака? Много хубаво, честито, баб.
Мерси.
Браво.
Еми ай, ще стават и баба и дядо.
Много се радвам. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Къде е чули, Татио?
This is the best news.
Дай да видим Татио и той да чуе.
Сега ще му кажа, че ще ставаш дядо. Това не са what?
О, Татио. Ма мръдни пръста, не може да те видим. Фани го.
Еми аз знам как тези телефони да ги държа.
Къде е? Еми айде, дядо ще ставаш.
Дед Мороз. Oh, thank you guys. You will cry.
All right, we're back. So it seemed like a lot of people were really shocked.
Correct.
Why was that so shocking for people?
I don't know. I just think, Nasca and I have been married for 4 years, and yeah, I mean, obviously, like I was overseas playing and stuff like
Right.
that, and so then pregnancy, it's a career ender.
Okay, so it's not like it was some sort of like they didn't think you would ever have kids and now you are, or anything
No,
like that?
no,
Okay.
no. Anyone who knows me knows that I've always wanted
Right.
kids and love being from a big family and would love to have a family of my own.
So how does the naming process go? You mentioned in the previous podcast that in Bulgaria it's different.
Yeah, so all of our kids, the Bulgarian tradition would be that all of our kids have my husband's first name as their middle names.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it will be Atanasov or Atanasova will be the middle name.
The middle name. But the first name is up for grabs.
Up for grabs, yeah.
Okay.
They do have a tradition of name days in Bulgaria, which if you name it like a traditional, after a traditional Bulgarian saint, then like name days are bigger than both birthdays in Bulgaria.
Okay.
So like you could have 2 days of the year to celebrate, and like if your name is Christo, for example, like you have to throw a party on the name day of Christo. So all the Christos you can go to their house unannounced and they'll have food and drinks for you.
That sounds good.
And yeah, and Christo's on Christmas, so it's,
Perfect.
yeah.
All right. Let's move to Jen. You're the first athlete to be on the podcast, so big time honor for you. I'm sure you're thrilled. Talk about how you came to MNU in the first place.
Right. So I came to MNU as a freshman, straight out of high school.
Get up to it.
Oh.
There you go.
I had actually previously committed to play at University of Hawaii Hilo, which is like a D2. And then they had a coaching change, so I decommitted pretty late into the year, I would say. And then I was honestly like, I had no idea where I was
Right.
going to go. So that was all up in the air. And then actually, Kristen Steele reached out to me, and I thought about going to Ottawa. And then ultimately, they had just gotten the new coach here, and Kristen told me I would like it here, so I just pretty much signed without ever
Stayed.
being in Kansas.
So you went from Oregon. Where are you from in Oregon?
I'm from right in the middle, Madras, Oregon.
Madras, Oregon. So that's closer to Ottawa, obviously,
Mhm.
Arizona. So what made you choose Kansas? Just
Honestly, I don't know. I would just I like going places.
Right.
So I think not like the further away, like I don't want to be at home, but just like being able to go somewhere else is super cool.
all right. Talk about your freshman year, sophomore year, and how you've developed. Because now, as your senior year, what I've noticed anyway, from my spot at the scores table, is that this year it's like your team, and you're getting most of the swings, and you're leading the team, and you remind me basically of Molly's position. You never leave the floor. You get your double-double with kills and digs, and you're the leader of the team and all that. So how did that start as a freshman? Who was like your mentor, maybe, I guess, on that team? And did you see this coming for yourself? Did you just happen for you? Talk about your progression.
I think freshman year I came in and I didn't really want to step on any toes at all because I was a little scared. But I think definitely Taylor Cowan was just so cool.
Right.
Seeing her play, just everything about her was super cool. So I super looked up to her. But then Huge too, just getting to play with Huge. She was so nice, and when I had no idea what was going on, she was always there to help me and talk to me. And Gabby too, I played with her as well. And they were both outside, so it was cool. They helped me a bunch. So I think that kind of helped, but I don't think I really progressed much through freshman and sophomore year. It was just kind of I'm having fun
Right.
playing volleyball, to an
Okay.
extent.
And so then your junior year, new coach.
Mhm.
Talk about how that went.
I thought she was going to be crazy.
Well, you were,
Oh my gosh.
well, you were right.
Exactly, she is. No, so I had actually just kind of thought about transferring,
Yeah.
which just sounds dumb looking back at it. But I didn't really know what to do, and I was super panicked that she had cut me from the team.
Okay.
Which is can I go on the record saying that's a ridiculous thing to think, but okay.
Regardless.
Right.
So I was whatever, I'll stay. She's pretty good at volleyball, I guess.
Right.
And so I made the decision to stay, obviously. Yeah.
And what's the difference been from your first 2 years to now, as far as, I don't know, what practice is like, or what the team chemistry is like, or what training is like, that kind of thing?
I think it's way different. It's
Yeah.
way more structured. I think just since she is so competitive, it's easy for us to be competitive. And I think she held us to a standard right when she came in that was far higher than we'd been held the last 2 years. And so I think we just like wanted to meet that. And obviously, I mean, you had to get better to do that.
Right. So is that accurate, my observation from the scorers table, that senior year, this is your team? Do you feel that? Is that a conscious decision? Am I completely way off base? What's your mindset as far as this team goes?
I don't know. I really, honestly, this is probably the best team I've been on. Just like people-wise, like the environment, the vibe, like coaching staff, everything. This is honestly like the best year I've had. I think we work really well together. There's like 7 seniors right now.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know. I think just going in with a conscious decision of like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to like provide what I can.
Now, I don't know anything about volleyball. I just stat it and I watch it way too much. But your first few years, it was, from what I noticed anyway, more safe shots. Roll shots, placed shots.
Mm-hmm.
This year, you're stinking hammering the ball every time. And is that a conscious thing? Is that some coaching change with you? What are you seeing? You can talk about this too.
Yeah. No, I told her to do that. Yeah.
So I noticed accurately is what. Okay.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, obviously, you got to score 75 points to win traditionally. And when you have someone getting as many balls as Jen does, for various reasons, whether it be we're out of system or from transition or just that she's the best option in that situation, it, for me, didn't make sense to not hit the ball. And I think that when you're a team making a transition and trying to get back to where we want to be, and it's also a shift in mindset for me as a coach that you have to hit it. And so,
well, you certainly hit it when you played.
I tried to. Yeah, I tried to.
Very rarely was there a tip from Brewster. It was full swing every time. So.
Yeah, I don't super like that style of play.
Right.
I think that obviously it like scores. It does occasionally, just like anything. You can't always throw a fastball.
Right.
Like you have to throw a changeup. But at the same time, I think that there's a mentality that's connected to hitting the ball hard rather than like playing it, like you said, safe. And there's a difference between throwing in a roll shot or a tip because it's the safe option or because it's the smart option.
Right.
And like her specifically, we had to make that change mentally, I feel like, with you, because she was reverting to that for safety in sometimes, and that's when it pissed me off. And I say,
can you say that on this?
You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, well, fine, but it did, because to me, I saw it as that. I saw it as the safe option. Don't make mistakes. Don't take a chance. And I knew that mentality from what I see as the leader of the team, maybe she won't say it, but and it isn't her team, absolutely, but she is the leader on the team, and she's who everyone points to say, Jen's our rock for this.
Right, carrying the load mostly.
Yeah. And that's not a secret, and that's not something. So if the mentality coming from her was that, I was worried as a coach that would trickle down. And so I think that her bravery and ability to go for it has rubbed off on our teammates in a lot of ways. And that's kind of how we see, a little bit of a shift, hopefully.
And did you feel that? Did you feel that you were playing safe for a few years and now it's aggressive? Is it more fun now? How is that for you?
I think I definitely, like in high school, I just kind of did whatever.
Right.
And then I think when I came here, I was praised for being someone who didn't make errors.
Right.
So then when I did make errors, I was like, oh no, like I gotta just get the ball in the court. But no, I think like that came from like, I didn't want to get pulled. I didn't want to make mistakes or embarrass myself or like let people down.
Right.
But then like, yeah, she makes fun of me if I don't like hit the ball or, yeah.
In the best way possible, I make fun of her.
Right. What has Jen? What has been it like for you this year, dealing with masks and different protocols and quarantines and all that? What is that like from a student perspective? I've asked all the coaches about it, but what is it like for you?
I think honestly, it's just super weird. Like it's a crazy change.
Right.
And I think honestly, we kind of forget about it like when we're playing or like in game, but like classes sitting so far apart and like not being able to like eat or drink or whatever at certain times in class, and just like no matter where you are, like you're outside, you got to wear a mask around people. It's just kind of weird, and honestly, first of all, it's hard to understand people.
Right.
But I think, I mean, ultimately, especially all the athletes are like, if that's what we have to do to have a season, to like stay here, to limit quarantines, and like that's what it takes, and then we do it.
Right. Talk about your faith. You grew up out in Oregon. You came here. What's your faith testimony?
So in high school, I never really like was religious. I wouldn't really say like I was completely like atheist or anything.
Right.
But I definitely like didn't have a belief in God or anything like that. In my family, like my parents have been Christian, and it wasn't really something we like practiced. And like we don't really have a lot of churches, and our churches aren't super like, I don't know, they're not good, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But yeah, and then I came here, and Natalie Jackson, she was
I
here
remember her,
my
yeah.
freshman year. She was actually like the first person. She gave me a study Bible, and we would like go to the park and talk about it and stuff. She took me to church for the first time here, and so she was like super cool. I went home with her for Thanksgiving and Easter, and like she was really supportive and all that. But I think at that point it was just kind of like, oh cool, like there's a God. I'm like I'm gonna go to heaven. It wasn't really
Right.
like living by that, you
Okay.
know, up until recently, I think.
So what? Go ahead and talk about that. What happened more recently? What's the shift been?
I think junior preseason, coach came in and was like really straightforward, honestly, as always. And she was like, you need to do all these things. Not like you need to, but like if you're going to follow God, if you're going to like make him the Lord of your life and everything,
Right.
then obviously changes need to happen. You can't be doing things hypocritically and like try to be right with him. So I think that was a big thing. And I kind of took that as like a challenge, and I wanted to do that. I think since then, it's changed me a lot, like as a person, even like as a player. I think it's a little bit easier. But yeah, recently baptized,
Yeah.
11.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that.
Yeah.
Doing some work. Well done.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. And for me, like when I talk to the kids about faith, you know, because that is a big component of me and in my interview and stuff like that, and some people see it as intense or whatever, you know. But it is important to me, and so to see kids like we talk about just the transformation that she's made, and I don't even know that she can say she's made it, because I think all believers know that like when you have Jesus in your heart and you make him the Lord of your life, like he legitimately transforms your mind and transforms your heart, and how you view things is just different. And so to see her do that, and to see God do a work in her, has definitely strengthened my faith too. You know, you like hope to see stuff like that,
Absolutely.
like as a Christian and when you share your faith, but to see that in reality, with her and several of her teammates, it's been really, really cool.
That's great. You talked about your family briefly. What is your family like? Do you have siblings? What's your family situation?
So pretty much all my family's in Central Oregon,
Okay.
like really close to each other. But I have an older brother who just turned 30, actually, and he has
Okay.
2 kids and a wife. He's a cop, and his wife is a teacher. And then Hadley is my niece, and she's like almost 3. And then my nephew, Jameson, who's 1, and he's like huge. He's in like the 200th percentile. He's a giant baby.
Great.
And then I have a sister too. She just graduated from college, and she's working in our hometown.
Where'd she go?
She went to Pacific. It's in Forest Grove. in
Okay.
Oregon.
Are they athletes as well? What was your athletic life growing up with siblings?
My brother he played like, I think 4 sports. And he was like really athletic, super good.
Yeah.
And then ultimately just didn't really feel like he wanted to do that in college. My sister played with me. We played volleyball on the same team, which she's like not competitive, so it was like not a good balance. We argued all the time, but we played together on like a club volleyball team for a while, and then she had to have back surgery, so she just stopped playing probably when we were like, I think she was 12.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
This is your senior year. Are you graduating on time?
Mhm.
What are your plans after that? Do you have plans after that?
Honestly, I'm just kind of
Not
letting
really.
it happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I focus more like week to week, game to game.
That's the way to do it in 2020 for sure.
Yeah, for real though.
So, well, I mean, that leads me into a tougher question. with a cop for a brother and being in Oregon, where Portland is on fire half the time, what has that been like for you, the social climate now? And I ask all the coaches about this, the way that our country is divided right now. As people in athletics, it's almost hard to understand on some level, because we're all reaching for the same goal. It doesn't matter where you're from, what you look like. If you can play, if you can help me win, then good to go. What is that like from a student perspective, 21, 22, compared, we've been hearing answers from old coaches. You're not too old.
Come on.
But I've wanted to ask a student, what is it like with the Black Lives Matter protests and the social unrest and the police brutality? How does your brother deal with that kind of stuff? What's your perspective on all that? What do you go for it? Easy question, softball question for you, right?
I think I talk to my brother quite a bit.
Yeah.
And obviously, he is a police officer, and so that's kind of tough. But as far as our town is pretty small, so he doesn't really struggle with super big things like that. But overall, he has told me you get a call and you don't know what's gonna happen, obviously.
Right.
And then ultimately, it's just he even talks about I think about am I gonna go home, or am I gonna do something that's gonna put me in jail, or he never really knows what's gonna happen. So I think talking about it from that side is tough, and especially since it's my brother,
Right.
But then I think, he's a good cop. I view him as a really good person. I look up to him a lot. But I think in everything there's someone who isn't good or is corrupt. So I think
Sure.
it's tough to pick sides or label people when it's so much more than that.
That's great. And as far as, especially in volleyball, you've got people from different countries, different backgrounds. How does that team concept, and I keep asking coaches this too, how can we as America have a team concept and try to get on the same page? From a team captain type person, what would you, another easy question for you, how do you fix America? Go for it.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, I think, looking at it from a team perspective, our team is, pretty different. We have people from all over, people who, volleyball is life, and then there are people who are just, here to kind of play and have fun. But I think it is hard to kind of get people all on the same goal. I know you know that. But I think we all just have mutual respect for each other, and, we hold each other accountable. We love each other. And I think that's super important, because if I come from a place of love and I'm I need this from you, it's so much easier than just trying to call someone out.
Right. Well, we can go from that to going through the schedule and how the season's been going. You want to do that?
Yeah, I see this.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I've got our schedule and results here. I've been impressed with this team. I'll be honest with you.
Thank you.
I don't see it as a bad year or anything necessarily. Maybe the last two games you can change my mind. But let's state you started out at Morningside.
Yeah.
And that was at the Doan tournament, and you almost took that second set from the host. Talk about that game. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. Yes, we remember that one. No, Morningside and Doan are both traditionally strong programs. Both of them have seen a little bit of transition from coaching, coaching side, and so we went in with not a ton of expectation, but definitely some opportunity to see, this would be a good opportunity to go in and really compete, right, and really see some good volleyball. And we did that, and we saw that, and that was good. They challenged us early. And the home team, we could have had them, absolutely. With Doan, we have gone away with two W's, right, absolutely. It was a little bit tough playing back-to-back, and that game, we've never seen anything like it, because they've changed the rules that you don't switch sides now.
Right.
Doan was having an issue with their floor, that it was really slippery, but only on one side, and it wasn't our side. And so
so they kept wiping out on their own floor?
Yeah. So there was issues on that side, and it seemed to be oh, wow, what's going on, Because legitimately it was wild, but then it happened a few times on our side, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so wild. But I guess they had just refinished the floor or something, and then the sweat, people that were wearing lotion were greasing the floor. is what the hosts were talking about. So it was wild.
Were you thinking like shenanigans at one point? Like they grease up one side of the floor and then hope?
Well, no, of course
really,
you don't want to think that about anyone,
really
and I
help.
wouldn't say that about anyone. But like legitimately, the game was slowed down so much
Oh, they kept
because
having to wipe the floor.
Oh my gosh, like every play.
Well, it was like you talked about Gabby. That was after every play with Gabby Straseri,
We
they had
had
to wipe
3
the floor.
shirts for her. One,
Yeah,
like,
I remember that.
Yes, the sweaters, but like that. So it was a tough game to really like. It took forever.
Okay.
Even the 3-1 win, it ended up lasting like 2.5 hours because we were wiping up sweat all the time. We ended up starting the second match like 2 hours later than it was supposed to. It was just so that whole thing was wild. But ultimately, it started us off in a situation where we saw kind of that level of teams 25 to 48 range, and ultimately 48 make the national tournament. And so to play 2 matches at the beginning of the year in that, level of volleyball was
Right.
good. And it really gave us okay, where are we at? And
Yeah,
where
it
does that
kind of
put
let
us?
you know where you stand. And then you come home and beat Columbia relatively handily, if I recall. Did you lose the first one and then win 3 in a row?
Oh, I can't remember.
How
It was
did that
in
one go?
4.
But it felt like you know what? I think they won the first one and were winning the second one. Then there was a timeout and you were like
Yelled at him a little bit.
something. No, I think you changed strategy or something.
We
And
did
then
make a
from
defense
that
change.
point on, it was dominance, frankly. And then, yeah, you mentioned that in the quote. I remember that article now. So what did that seemed like it would be a springboard. Talk about that match.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you beat Columbia, I think it is a springboard. I think
nationally prominent, national titles here and there. A couple
here and there, yeah,
years
a
ago.
lot of them. Yeah, a lot of them. And so, but it's tough. Like in 2020, they weren't
Right.
fully. They didn't have everyone ready yet. And so there's been multiple matches where people are missing people. Columbia was one of those that they didn't have their full squad. Just like we've had games when we don't have our full squad.
Right.
And so it's really hard to judge. But as far as program to program playing down players, it's always good to beat Columbia,
Right.
and that's just something. They bring good volleyball. They bring a good ball control style of play, and don't make a ton of errors. And that's always a good challenge. And ultimately, when you schedule those non-conference games, that's why I talked to the girls about, like, it's ultimately a challenge.
Right.
And we don't know how the at-larges will play this year. We don't know how any of that will work. And so a lot of those games, it was just to challenge us and see where we're at.
Do you remember, Jen, that Columbia game specifically, or does it come and go for you?
No, I think I remember all of them.
Okay.
I think that was like, I don't know, that just like felt good to all of us.
Yeah.
I think we beat Columbia like my freshman year. But then to kind of like pretty much everyone has like a respect for Columbia, I feel like.
Right.
So I think we were just all super excited and like the vibe was good. We played well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you beat Tabor at home.
Yeah, that same day. It was the same day.
Oh, that's
We played
right.
back-to-back.
And then kind of got smoked at Ottawa.
We did.
That seemed like it came out of nowhere, or are they really good this year? What was that? I didn't watch that one, but I saw the score.
Yeah, I mean, Ottawa's the top of the KCAC.
Okay.
Is at the national tournament every year because they're at the top of the KCAC. And they've got a couple of really talented, dynamic athletes that are really tough to slow down, jump really well, and hit the ball hard. And we just weren't quite able to catch up. It felt like we never were able to control those hitters. And I know, like you guys talked about, not feeling like you could ever have a moment where we could just like relax and settle in.
Yeah. I think it's tough in those kind of situations when you have people that are jumping really high and like making big plays and necessarily like they're all 1 point, but
Right.
I think some of them we struggle
Intimidating
sometimes.
a little
Yeah,
bit
it's
more.
intimidating or like it feels like 5 points when they
Right.
hammer the ball down right in front of you, So I think especially kind of early in the season, like I hate that excuse, but it's kind of we were
Right.
trying to figure it out still, get some confidence.
Definitely. And the Ottawa gym is tough to play in anyway. You've been in that
is
gym.
a super loud gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And they had the whole student side completely full, and were loud.
I statted a opening round game there last year, and it was unsettling almost how loud it was.
It
With
really is,
half of
and
the
that's an
people.
adjustment. That's an
Yeah.
adjustment.
Then Missouri Valley. No disrespect, but I could
Yeah.
beat them. But the next game, I couldn't. I can't move. It's, the next game, Evangel was a really nice sweep against a perennial top of the conference team.
Yeah.
Talk about that one.
Yeah, that one was good. That one was good, and we know that.
And that was another dominant one too, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
I should pull up the stats.
It was. We beat them 21, 17, and 11. I think.
Yeah, they were
3-0.
in the teens. Yeah,
Yeah, and they.
never much of a threat.
Yeah, they struggled to get going, and we took care of the ball. When you don't make hitting errors against Evangel, that's what the scores generally will look like, because they're definitely a defensive team, and so they keep the ball up until you make an error. And if you don't make those errors, you beat Evangel with scores like that. But Evangel, the strategy is somewhat valid because it works, obviously, sometimes. If they can keep the ball up and you eventually hit it into the net, out of bounds, or into their block, then they do beat teams. And, historically we know that about Evangel, but definitely in that situation we took care of the ball. We had very few hitting errors, and that result then is, yeah. But that one felt good. To me, that was...
For sure.
That was as well as you guys have played
We found a
up
rhythm
to that
there.
point. It felt like at home anyway that I'd seen.
Yeah.
Then the next two games against a really tough team, CMU and Park.
Yeah.
CMU, I feel like that was kind of a blowout as well. What was that one?
Both those, we never had real control of anything. Against CMU, we actually played pretty well on the offensive side. We couldn't dig crap.
Okay.
We didn't dig anything. But we actually, it's like if you look at our hitting percentages and stuff like that, we were getting our kills. They were getting more. And then if you don't dig the ball and can never make a switch, then
Right.
all of a sudden you go, oh crap, we're down
Right.
7 points.
And what is that like for you as one of the responsible diggers, I should say? If you're not passing well that night, I'm a baseball guy, so is it I'm 4 for 4, I feel like I can do anything I want. The next game, I can't even see the ball, and I'm 0 for 4. Is it like that? Do you get hot with digs and passes, or is it technique or concentration? What's the difference if you're passing dimes one day and shanking stuff the next?
I think it's more of just like a confidence thing.
Yeah.
And I think, especially at CMU, yes, we were hitting really well, but it was kind of hard, at least for me to feel good about it when we were struggling so much on the defensive side. But I do think that when you do struggle getting the ball up, especially as someone who plays 6 rows,
Right.
it makes you want to score more, kind of, because you want to make up for it.
So it can snowball on you, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and they have so many offensive options. That's the
Right.
other thing about CMU, and you talk about the two, because Park was our next match, and we got swept in that one as well. Park, you kind of know where the ball's going.
And it still doesn't matter.
And it still doesn't matter. Whereas CMU, they have, all their hitters are really strong hitters. Yeah. And so if you don't serve tough enough and they have all those as options, it really then blocking and defense comes into play. And if you can't set up a block, then it's really hard to dig, and it just kind of snowballs. And so it's a little bit different, that one, versus then the next one that, the ball is going to nada.
Right.
9 times out of 10, it feels like.
Yeah,
and you still can't stop her.
And that's been their kind of MO for this decade, where they've been so good.
Yeah.
They've got 1 or 2 players that are just, I'm just going to be out here and be better than you, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, that's the way Wendy Romero was,
right.
Who played on the outside for them. You could set up a completely closed block, and she would hit over the top of that completely closed block. So it was like, oh man, just really athletic, really good volleyball players. And Mike does a good job there recruiting those kids and finding those kids that are just special on the national level, and it's not just they come and do that to us. I worked the national tournament last year, and they go to the national tournament and do the same thing to the top 25.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, you just got to slow Nada down, and it's like, good luck.
Right.
Fine, yes.
And they can all pass, and their setters are always on point, and so
yeah,
it's just
they're very tough.
I don't know. I mean,
but it's a different style than CMU is what I'm saying. Their
right.
CMU distributes the ball a little bit more.
All right, then we go on a 3-game winning streak. Benedictine and Baker.
Yeah.
And then Valley again. We won't talk about Valley. It's fine. But the Benedictine home win, they took a set from us, but it was I felt like we were in control the whole time. Is that a crazy thing to say?
Honestly, no. Like, it really did until probably like the last couple points.
Yeah.
I think we just struggled like finishing that first set for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, you really did. But Benedictine, honestly, is good this year. I really like Benedictine this year. I think that they're working really hard. They graduated 10 and lost another 2, so they had 12 kids turnover, which in volleyball world is huge.
Right.
And so to do that and to come out with the team that they've had this year, to me, I take my hat off to Erin there, because I didn't expect that, for one. And she said...
Erin Cooper, former coach of yours, by the way.
Yeah, she was an assistant here when I was playing. And now she's the head coach there. So her and I are good friends. And, she said, you won't recognize a single kid on my team. And normally that means that it's like a rebuilding year. And that's just... Benedictine looks good to me this year.
Yeah.
And they obviously showed that when we went there.
Right. Then we sweep Baker. Not a big deal. Valley. And then at Benedictine, those first 2 sets, it was boom, boom. It was... Like, what'd you get, 16 or something? It was
16,
nothing.
16.
They were all over you.
Yeah.
And then in the third set, you come back and win that one close. Fourth set, again.
Both those were within 2 and extra points.
And what do you think? It felt like you were going to win set 5. Did that feel like... I was watching that one. Did it feel like that to you?
What do you think if it went 5? Would we want it?
Yes.
I mean, that's obviously the only answer you can give. But, like, we had set point in set 4, right?
Yeah.
It was like 24, 21 even. And
21 or 22, I think,
So it felt like, all right, we're turning the corner here and we're going to get 5 too, but then they come back with 5 straight or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So that was closer than it indicated. But what was the difference in the first 2 sets with the next 2?
I mean, do you want to take this one? I've lectured you guys enough about it. You should know my opinion.
I wasn't watching that. I was actually like, oh, we beat Benedictine relatively easily at home. I'm going to hang out with my kids. Let me check in on the score. Oh, my gosh, we're getting destroyed. What's going on? So it was like that for me. What was it like playing in it?
I think the first 2 sets, it was just like, whatever. I think we went in and we were like, oh, like we did well against them last time. And we definitely...
Kind of an overconfident type thing?
And I think that's like good in a sense.
Right.
That you have enough confidence to feel like we have beat them before. Like, I know we can handle them again. But I think we did that, and then we didn't apply pressure or like work for it. We kind of just expected it, and like the vibe was weird. It was just we could not get a rhythm going. But yeah.
But then the third set, was there a conscious difference, or was it just desperation time and we're gonna work harder all of a sudden?
A little bit, I think. I think it was kind of like.
It's just funny how athletics works like that,
yeah.
where you think you can cruise for a while, maybe. It's like, all right, now I have to play hard, and now it's too late because they can smell victory too. So it's, I'm guessing you were all over them for that.
Well, yeah, because I was doing math in my head, Jeff.
Right.
Because the tiebreak rule, like once you're tied with someone in the wins and loss category, then you go to sets 1 and you go to points 1. And so when we, they came here and it was 20, they beat us 25-23, I think, or 25-21.
21, I think.
21, they won the first set, and then we beat them 16-16-16, right? So 3-1 win in that fashion here. And so when we went there and went down 2 sets, 16-16, I was like, oh, here we go. And so I knew, like, we had to take a set.
You had to win a set, and then you had to get 17 in the next set, basically.
Yes, or 18. It was something like that to make sure that we don't tie in that. And so for me, I really got on them to say, hey, gain some perspective here, because in 2020 it's about surviving, and this and the Evangel game, because we beat them here and then lost away, and we do have the tie break on both of those because we swept Evangel and then we got beaten 4, and we beat Benedictine in 4 and then lost in 4, but then we have the points, and so we have both those tie breaks, right. But those only become relevant if you're tied in wins and losses.
Right.
And so that's what 2020 is, because they've taken out the cross division play, and the Heart decided to do that, which is a bummer. But because they decided to do that, then it goes 4-4 North and South, and that means like 5th in our division. That means Evangel, us, or Benedictine are out.
Right.
And like Evangel, for example, played, and right now it's Grandview is 1, William Penn is 2 on the north. Well, Evangel swept William Penn when they played,
Right, the South,
and that's 2 in the north.
The South is certainly the stronger division this year, at least, right?
Yeah, and that's what it seems to be.
Right.
Because we're not playing each other and can't really prove it. It's wild, and I think that the conference this year, we know that the best 8 teams, in my opinion, the best 8 teams are not going to be in the conference tournament this year.
Right,
And that's
always tough to swallow.
Oh, that's wild. Yeah. That's wild. But the conference made that decision, and it is what it is. But then on our side, it became survival in both those matches to say, okay, let's get points and truly just battle, even if you don't like it, even if it's not comfortable. I told the girls, you guys have to suck it up and win a set. You guys, I mean, absolutely.
Almost took that whole match. I feel like set 5 may have gone your way. I don't know.
It's possible, definitely.
Yeah.
But I will say the other thing is we've had people in quarantine. Like the first time we played Benedictine, we were missing Caden McGee, who was our starting right side at that point. And Benedictine came in and was like, what we planned, our scouting report was about your lefty. And I was like, yeah, well, she's not here.
Sorry.
And then against CMU CMU, Jackie Calvert didn't play, and who's our returning all-region kid. And then against Park, she didn't start and only came in a little bit because she's dealing with injuries and hasn't been healthy. And then the last game against Evangel, I had to sit Rachel Dossett because of injuries and her things that she's doing. And so it's been truly survival.
Right.
And it's tough to manage because as a coach, how do you run practice? How do you decide how many jumps you're going to do when you don't know if you're going to play, or games get canceled? Oh, then we shouldn't have been training that hard. I would have taken it lighter this week, or trying to manage those things is impossible.
Right. This is definitely the unique season. So we've got Baker coming up.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's going to be a sweep, but if you play like you did,
don't put that evil on us,
but if
man.
you play like you did at Benedictine, that's the thing. I'm putting out the warning there too.
Yeah.
If you show up like, oh, we're going to smash them, and then don't. So.
Yeah.
So don't do that. Go ahead and smash them. It's Baker. We like smashing them. So
we do like smashing Baker. And Baker, they actually lost to Missouri Valley the other day. I don't know if you saw that. And then lost to Benedictine. And so, but the Missouri Valley games were insane. It was like 27-25, 32-30.
Oh, wow.
And Valley freaking battled for a win there. So it's tough to say again, but Baker then at one point had 12 people that were suspended. So it's just like, how do you,
Right.
How do you plan on anything? So that's why I tell the girls, even when we went to Valley, I thanked them for winning. And they said, Coach, you're acting like you didn't expect us to beat Missouri Valley. And I said, I don't expect us to beat anyone.
Right.
Ever. Because someone shows up and starts coughing, and it's like, get her in quarantine. You just don't know.
After that, CMU. So how do you approach a team like that's been awesome this year and kicked our butts at their place? How do you go in against a team? I mean, and then it's non-conference stuff, and then Park again. So going in against teams like that with high reputations, highly skilled, kicked your butts already. I'll ask Jen, what do you think when you go into games like that?
I think we honestly just had a meeting about this as a team.
And is it like, oh, we can get him, or is it like, let's just try,
it's never just try.
I know.
No,
I'm asking the right people.
I think we talked about a lot, like being confident and things like that. And I think when we went to Evangel and we went to Benedictine, especially when things don't seem to go our way in the beginning of games, we tend to be like, oh, let's just play, let's try.
Right.
And I think it's so much more important to hold ourselves and our teammates to a standard of we are going to do anything and everything it takes to win, and seeing it more of I think sometimes we rely on people too much, like individuals, instead of as a team, everyone wants to score, everyone wants to take a risk and score a point. And so we talked about that a lot, and I think that's something that we're really trying to work on more.
Yeah.
And from a coaching perspective, when you're going against a team that's probably on paper, you're like, well, they're more talented than us, but that's not what we're trying to determine here.
Yeah.
We're trying to determine who scores the most points today.
Correct.
How do you make that happen?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's exactly what you said. So if you start lining people up and down, okay, who's better? It's just forget it. Okay, This is the strategy we're going to go with. But again, because we're in one of the strongest volleyball conferences in the country, in the NAI, and then we're in the division that is, would really stronger over the other. we know that, like, oh my gosh, you know, the wins, losses, the record, like, just like this, and we survive. And when you know you're playing a team that is that talented, I don't think that you can put the brakes on at all.
Right.
And if I tell the kid, if they're going to beat us, then let's go out, you know, swinging. I'd rather that you force them to block you than anything. And so if they block us and beat us and we went at them as hard as possible, then my hat's off to them and their team. But if we do go at them and they're not able to, then we really do have a shot at beating anyone. And I think that that's kind of the feel of 2020. I think that's, always the case in athletics. If you go at them, you still got to force them to stop you. You can't beat yourself. And so ultimately that's the goal when we go up against teams like CMU, against teams like Park, continuing to be good volleyball players and not beat ourselves, and force them to beat us. And if they beat us, then awesome.
Right.
Then they deserve it. But yeah, trying to cultivate an environment that we're not, that's low error, and we're not, beating ourselves, and force them to earn it. And that's ultimately the goal in both those, for sure.
Who has been, let's say, a surprise player for you this year? That something that maybe a freshman or maybe someone new or someone who improved a lot. Who stands out to you as a surprise? You can both answer that if you want.
Yeah, I'll go. I mean, it's Jen for me.
Okay.
In my opinion, just because, last year to this year, she talks about the transition from her sophomore year to her junior year or whatever, but like, in my opinion, the transition from her junior year to her senior year is, it's ridiculous. And every single coach that comes up to me after the match is like, what'd you do? What'd Jen do in the off season? And I'm like, she did everything that she was supposed to. And so my hat's off to her, obviously, in that. And, people that watch us play, like, wow, watching Jen as a freshman or sophomore, I never would have thought that that's the kid that's having career, high 20 points a game or 20 kills a game and
right,
25 points a game. And so for me, I laid that to her and said, listen, this is something that I believe that you're capable of if you're willing to do the work. And she did the work in the off season. And so as far as transformation that people are noticing, it's Jen. I think that I've been very pleasantly surprised by Teresa Saunders, who's come in as a freshman from Germany. And she brings some size to the floor, but she also brings a level of emotional intelligence to the floor that she understands. She comes from a good winning program, and she's been in big games before. And, Teresa, actually, I don't know if we talked about this last time. I played with Teresa in Germany.
I did not, no.
Yeah. So while I was playing professionally in Germany, she was in the youth program there.
Okay.
And because she was tall and stuff, they'd bring her up and sit her on the bench in a couple of big home games. Not every game, maybe 2 or 3 or something like that. And then I remember the first time that she went in and got to go in, and she was like 14 and like, oh my gosh, just like a youth surrounded by us, playing.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, so I've literally been on the court with Teresa, and so it's so fun to have her here, and her family is, really cool people. And so when she decided to come, that was huge, and I knew that she would bring that. But as far as someone who I think is exciting for the future and someone I'm excited about, she's one of those. I definitely like a lot of our other freshmen, and, I think Bethany Allison brings a level of culture to the team that's really, really important. I think Caden McGee brings some size and a little bit of uniqueness in the way she plays with her left hand. Even Brianna and Kira and those that they're lessening the gap, even though it's freshmen. We have a lot of freshmen and a lot of seniors. They make that gap seem smaller, and I think that that's huge. And so moving forward, I'm really excited about a lot of those kids because I think that the future is bright, and I think that they are doing a lot of the right things, and they're able to do that this year because of kids, my 7 seniors, and Jackie coming back with another year, and Jen developing, and it wasn't like Jen was, freaking horrible last year. She's an all-conference player, but legitimately going to her stats and stuff,
from the scoring table, I notice a difference. I don't say much. I'm in the background.
Nice.
But I see everything, and it was noticeable by me, so it must be noticeable by people who actually know what they're looking at too.
Yeah.
And what about you, Jen? Who's been a surprise for you?
I think Teresa. We talk about her because I'm sweet mates with like all of the seniors basically,
Right.
and we talk about her a lot, honestly. And even my aunt, like, she live streams all our games, and she'll text me like, "Oh my gosh, Teresa did so good."
Good.
But I think like we had talked about her when she was coming in, and I was super excited like for volleyball side, just like what she was gonna bring, height. Like, she's a good player, obviously. And then I think just getting to know her as a person too, like, she's such a cool person, and playing with her is so fun. Like, her energy, just like the way she acts on the court, and just her like off the court too. She's a cool
Now,
person.
another thing that I see, just as an athletics person, does she jump off the wrong foot? Am I
She goes
crazy?
off one leg really well, yeah.
Okay.
She doesn't jump off 2 feet as well as she jumps off one leg. But we send her behind the setter quite a bit because that's where she scores.
That's just a unique way of doing it. I didn't.
Yeah, but that's
It's not
normal
right or
on the
wrong
slide.
necessarily, yeah.
Rachel does it too.
Right.
She does. But like against Benedictine, when Jen had 20 kills against Benedictine in our home win, Teresa as a freshman had 16.
Right.
Yeah.
And that kind of got overshadowed because it was a career night for Jen and stuff like that, and so it wasn't mentioned as much. But to have 16 kills from Teresa in that match, like, as a freshman, that's huge, you know? And as a freshman who, you know, was recruited as a middle, and then, okay, we're going to put you on the right side because, you know, Caden's out or whoever it is, you know, trying to survive and shift people around and then throw her back in the middle because Rachel's knees, and yeah,
Right.
that's what it is. It's crazy, but
Talk about your setter situation. You've got it's been Courtney and Gracie in a 6-2, right?
yeah, traditionally.
And then Kelsey's been getting worked in there a little bit. What is as a coach, what are you seeing from them, and what goes into your decision to go 6-2 over 5-1? I saw Courtney play the whole thing the other day.
Yeah.
How's that going? If that's a secret you're willing to divulge.
No, that's fine. No, I think that all three of those setters are absolutely capable. I think that as far as going into a 5-1, really, you lose a hitter,
Right.
and then you lose a blocker and some size because Courtney isn't as big as whoever it would be else I put on the right side, whether it's Caden or Teresa or Nick or whoever. But so we have been traditionally in the 6-2 to stay with 6 hitters instead of the 5 and to have a little bit bigger blocker on that side. But switching every 3 rotations from the ball coming from different hands is just hard to find a rhythm offensively.
Right.
And so sometimes you just have to pick as a coach what's important in this match right now. So are we going to go with consistency in our execution as far as the ball comes to the same every time, because the way Courtney sets, she sets slow and low, and so whereas Kelsey and Gracie are both like higher, and so literally it's Courtney setting you like this versus Kelsey and Gracie setting you up high. It's different, you know, trying to hit it out of her hands as a middle, but honestly my assistant Adam is you know, a setting coach, and that's what he does, and so he's taken those 3 kids and said, okay, we're gonna really work this year. And so I trust all 3 and know that we can go in the 5-1, we can go in the 6-2 with all year long. I mean, at one point we didn't have Courtney didn't play a match, and we went 6-2 with Gracie and Kelsey because
Right.
Courtney was sick. And so it really has just been a mix, but what I can definitely say is that I definitely trust all those kids to get the job done ultimately, and people have been so extremely flexible with all the changes that we've had to make and been forced into. So that, for me as a coach, is encouraging that the system works and that we are so flexible.
I was going to ask about Adam as a setting coach because
Yeah.
Trevor, your other brother,
Yeah.
I was doing stats and he was my spotter for a tournament last year. And the sets would go up and he would constantly complain, get it towards the net, get it towards the net,
Yeah.
get him moving towards the net.
Yeah.
And I'm just statting, I'm not paying attention. But now this year I've noticed that when Courtney sets from, say, 15 feet away from the net, it is going towards the net. It's not straight parallel or whatever. Is that Trevor/Adam's influence of get it towards the net, get
Yes.
people moving towards the net? Is that on purpose?
Yeah.
Have I noticed something else from the table that's accurate?
No, this is pretty much all we talk about on Sunday
Okay.
afternoons with my family. Yeah, volleyball. And then my older brother comes to the game. You know, Brinks comes to the game with his wife, Lara, who she was a setter at Marquette.
Okay.
And then, you know, Kelsey set in college, my other sister. And then my dad set in college. It's just like, oh my gosh, all these setters and their egos. And then I'm sitting here like, I don't really care. Just put it somewhere I can hit it, you know?
Right.
But no, definitely Adam transitioning from being more aggressive and locating better balls is huge. Obviously, putting it in front of people and giving them opportunities to score.
Right.
Because if you don't have the opportunity to score, then it's really tough to beat teams that are better than you. We still might be able to beat teams, but teams that are better than you, unless you can go lean forward into a ball,
Right.
it's really
Instead
hard
of
to do
going
that.
straight up. Like, well, Jen, go ahead and talk about what that's like from the like a back row. You've been doing that some this year too.
Mm-hmm.
If the ball is coming straight at you and you jump straight up and down, that's an easy dig for the other side, right? As opposed to jumping towards the net like Adam and Trevor talk about. Talk about that. Is that a big difference this year that you've noticed?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think definitely. And honestly, like, I talk to the setters all the time about that. Like, it is just so cool to see how much they've improved. I think, like, completely. And it's so cool, like, they'll just throw a ball, and I'm like, oh, like, I had no, like, especially when I'm in the back row and I'm trying to cover,
Right.
I'm, like, going this way, and then they, like, chuck it back that way, and I have to, like, run back around, and I'll be like, that was, like, wow.
That was really good.
Like, it's super cool, and they work so hard, and it's just, like, cool. I feel like we've connected so much more this year, and, like, the balls that they put up, like, are crazy good.
All right.
Yeah.
Talk about at the beginning of the year, it was McKenna as the libero, or however you want to pronounce it. Everyone says it differently, right? What do you-
Bro. It's the cool
it's
thing,
bro?
Chad. Come
Okay,
on, it's
I'll,
the bro.
I'll switch to bro. Brah. I'll do that. But McKenna was the bro. And then Savannah's become the bro,
Yes.
and McKenna's been more of a DS.
Yeah.
Is there a difference really there? How did that come about? How did that develop?
Yes. So I tell those kids to their face, I wish that I could mesh the two.
Okay.
Because Mac is such a rock in reception. Such a rock. She's just, her technique, her platform, the angles of her body, the way she reads the ball. In reception, she does such a good job in understanding of where it is. Not that Sav doesn't, because Sav's good in reception as well. And then on the flip side, Sav in defense has more of the speed and the reading ability in faster situations. Whereas Mac, not that she's bad at it, but is slower. And so when we have to choose, okay, are we going to, in this game, value more the reception or more the defense? That is my decision as far as who I put in the bro jersey, because yeah, both I trust completely, and they know that. I hope they know that. I communicate to them all the time,
right,
that either one I could put in the bro jersey and we would have no problem. And even statistically, when we stat our reception statistics versus our digs, and then our digs versus our reception, depending on who's in the DS role coming in and playing those 3 rotations, or who's in the bro role playing those 6 rotations or the 3 rotations versus the 6. Trying to, like, we go over stats as a staff every time. Okay, is it worth it? Is it not? What
Right.
were we digging when she was in the jersey? What were we digging in this situation? But I think it's just all a little bit of preference, just like the 6-1 versus the 5, or the 6-2 versus the 5-1. Where are we at? Who's our opponent? What's important? Where are we struggling? Where we need a little bit better vibes? And then I make that decision. And lately we've been trying to, after the CMU no digs game, and then Park, we said, okay, let's try putting a value more on the defensive side. And so then we made that change with Sav in that. And so, like I said, to me, just like our setters, I think we can go either way. I think that it's been proven that we've won with both in both situations. And so, yeah, just a matter of preference.
You've talked about the stats, and you go over that. That's an interesting topic for me, because I am sitting there keeping the stats.
Yes.
And I've always felt like these stats are worthless. And it's a bad thing to think, but I think it's worthless.
That is a horrible thing to think
because,
for talking to me, Chad.
No, but you are going deeper than it, because when I'm doing stats, it says, okay, who got the serve reception, and then who got the kill. But it doesn't keep track of how often do you get a kill when that person receives it.
Yeah.
Or how often it doesn't judge, I don't judge the passes. So
exactly. We do that on the bench.
Right. So even though this person may have got the serve receive, the setter had to run over there, and you didn't get a kill then.
Correct.
That's not the setter's fault.
Correct.
It's the good server's props or the bad dig over here. So the stats that I keep, I'm like, I sort of wish that it would track already, automatically.
The quality.
The quality, because it's like golf. If you drive it in the fairway, the rest of your game is going to be good.
Yeah.
If you make that good serve, receive, pass, you're going to be better. The setter's going to be better.
Yeah.
And so it all starts there. So how do you dig through that with the stats?
There you go.
Yeah.
Throw a pun in there.
Yeah.
No, that's the exact conversation we have as a staff, and when I talk to my reception players and my defensive players, because both are such solid defensive players and reception players, but they just have a little bit of an edge on each other in those respective categories. But when we're tracking the quality of it coming from the first contact reception, that matters, because if we don't have that first contact in reception, then all of a sudden Jackie Calvert's out of the game, Rachel Dawson's out of the game because we can't get her the ball. And so that matters. But then if we are in defense and we can't dig anything up ever, then it's like, well, where do we find ourselves then? And so it depends. But as far as statistics go, it's fun because both McKenna Webster and Savannah Matthews are just on the brink of 1,000 digs. I don't know if they know that. But both of them, and they're like, when I update the weekly career stats, they're like this, depending on who plays bro on their digs. But they're both in the 930 or 940 mark, and they literally are passing each other like this on their way to 1,000. I think the next one above them is Linjen at 995, so that will be the first one that they pass.
And then you
and
right
then
that, right?
I think there's somewhere between.
Oh, you had 1,200 or something, right? What was it? You know your stats. Don't play coy.
Digs and kills, I don't get mixed up. I think I'm higher in digs. I think I'm like 1,400 or 1,500.
Okay, so never mind. I was way off.
No, but it's so it's fun to see those, and then the reception side, like how you judge quality and then quality of dig, and there's so many things that go into it that I love. But it's fun with those two kids because I trust them both, and because they both really do handle the other well, and they live together, and I'm like worried about tension and girl stuff. They've handled it so well, so professionally. I can't speak higher of them.
No, great. That's it for me.
Yeah.
What else do you? I think we've gone over an hour. Well done.
Hey, heck yeah.
I expected like a half hour, but that's
good.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up. Thanks to Molly, Coach Molly, and Player Jen.
No problem. Thanks for having
Episode 7.
Yeah.